Welcome to the Trumped Up Live Show, where truth gets amplified, stories get real, and transformation begins. Let's break it down, build it up, and keep it universal.
Man, y'all gonna have to deal with me today because I am tired of these Democrats. And it's not to say, man, I just don't think they deserve to be in power. First of all, they some idiots. They are so caught up in their lens, in their rhetorical rhetoric that they want us caught up in. They so much caught up in it that they want us just to believe in everything they talking about. When here we are, we getting into this whole thing with this Iranian issue. This Iranian issue got us pretty much up in the air with them now attempting to have drones over here in Los Angeles coming to bomb or just set up some type of terrorist act over here in the city of Los Angeles. And it just don't make no sense, right? But I'm gonna break it down for you on how clueless the Democratic Party is for you today.
About that unconfirmed intelligence report involving a possible drone strike by Iran off the West Coast. That's according to ABC News. It's reports like that one, which is exactly why we see some barricades outside, fencing here. We know that by Sunday there will be hundreds of police officers deployed here to the Dolby Theater, along with hundreds of federal Homeland Security and FBI personnel. Moments ago, in a
Damn, isn't it so funny that they got to work with the federal government now when it comes to this Iranian issue?
virtual news conference, Governor Gavin Newsom said that he was aware of those threats from Iran to attack areas of California with drone strikes. Take a listen.
Concerns as it relates to the broader concern, as it relates to drone strikes, we've been aware of that information. We've been working collaboratively through the SOC, which we established right after the war began, the State Operations Center, working with the Office of Emergency Service, but also working locally to make sure we transmit any information that we have received, and we're aware of that, which has been reported, I think, by.
I mean, damn, you ain't afraid of your sanctuary cities now? Like, you ain't afraid that you're allowing sleeper cells of Iranian sleeper cells to be in this state, to be cuddled by you and prevent the federal government to actually get rid of these individuals? How are you, man, listen, you ain't got nothing to say. You ain't got nothing to talk about because you are the same individual who would not allow the federal government, ICE, to come in here to attempt the removal of these people. And if they do, you want to strike up a protest. So what do you have to say?
ABC 7, we're aware of that information, and we transferred that information in real time to our local partners. Drone issues have been always top of mind, and we've assembled some work groups specifically around those concerns. But that's all I'll share at the moment. I have nothing more insightful beyond just what's been reported and how we're transmitting what we know to our local partners, which is critical.
So there you have it. But important to note, authorities emphasize there is no confirmed specific threat tied to the Oscars right now, but they say heightened vigilance is necessary given the global tensions created by the conflict with Iran. Authorities say an encoded shortwave radio message believed to have originated in Iran was detected shortly after the reported killing of the country's supreme leader on February 28th. Investigators say the number sequence resembled signals historically used to communicate with covert operatives and may have been intended for sleeper cells, though officials stress there is no confirmed threat tied to it right now. ABC News, as we just said, reporting the FBI recently.
It doesn't matter if a threat is tied to it right now. The whole idea of it being attempted to be even talked about, it's credible enough to where you should be starting to say, hold on, man, we got to reconsider this sanctuary city policy stuff. But you're not. And it's sad. Hold on just a minute. Let me
Welcome
click
to the
over.
Trump.
Anyway, like I said, man, this how delusional the Democratic Party is and why you as Americans should be just fed up with it. First of all, they fail to realize something important while they're caught up in trying to get their votes. They fail to understand that especially for individuals who coming from the southern border, that when the reason why they primarily voted for Trump, besides the fact of they didn't want to vote for Kamala Harris, is because they didn't want you to let no more of these people up over here. They were fleeing places like Mexico, places like Guatemala, places like El Salvador. They sought America as refuge besides the opportunity. And you allowing these individuals to come over here, first and foremost, who they are running away from, the cartels. Okay, if you're not working with the cartels, if you not uh working for the cartels, or you not getting taxed by the cartels in Mexico, there is a problem. You can't own a business. You can't start a business in Mexico without some implementation of the cartels being put in place. So the cartels is thwarting opportunities for individuals like the Hispanics. We're gonna say it in general like that. And you fail to realize this. Now, this is why they voted for Trump. First of all. Second of all, okay, you're making their journey to America harsh. You're terrorizing them as well as you are terrorizing Americans with regards to this whole issue, with regards to sanctuary city and sanctuary state. If you don't wake up out of your delusion, bruh, you're caught up in a lens just to get a vote, and you're shooting us all this rhetorical fallacies that are not true, just so you can gather up votes. Just because blacks back in 2020 decided to say, "Hey, we're going to run with the Republican Party. We're going to ride with Trump." And so here you are, you want to backtrack and say, "Okay, well, we're going to open up the borders so that we can get a no voter place, because if we don't have the black vote, then who do we got?" But at the same time, the Hispanics is over here like, hold on, wait a minute, don't let these people over here. We ran away from these people, bro. We know who these individuals are. We know what goes down in Mexico, and we ran away from that insecurity and sought refuge in America, because while we couldn't have the opportunities in places like Mexico, uh, without the cartels being involved in it, here we are in America now where we don't have to worry about the cartels. But you want to let the cartels come over here? Look at places like Alvarado, bro. Oh my God. Man, listen, I'm gonna let this video finish.
Warned California law enforcement about intelligence suggesting Iran may have considered launching drone attacks from a vessel off the U.S. West Coast if American strikes occurred. Officials say the report included no details on timing, targets, or perpetrators and remains unconfirmed. Meanwhile, large gatherings like the Oscars remain a focus. Security experts also believe other likely targets include transportation hubs like airports.
And not only that, in New York, Mandani just had to release statement saying that in the front of his house was bombed. When the actuality of the situation was that there was an anti-Muslim protest going on in front of Mandani's house, and the bomb attack was on the protest, not on Mandani's house. Another form of terrorism. Why you need to secure these borders, why you need to be getting individuals out here that wasn't vetted under the Biden administration. But still, the Democratic Party so worried about their votes. This is why I say the Democratic Party has turned itself into a terrorist party. They're terrorists. And I don't know why at this point in time Donald Trump hasn't really said something about them. He's allowing them to. Them, Donald Trump is something that I like to call the Democrat killer, because he's done his best to actually speak the truth. First and foremost, it's hard to shoot rhetorical fallacies nowadays. You want to know why? Because we have so much information available to us. We have AI. Why Gavin Newsom want to sit here and tout on it's being the first in AI and technology and all this stuff. It's killing you. You can't shoot us bud no more. You have YouTubers out here to where, and so many other people. We have clips. We have on all different type of platforms. We have all this available to us, so we can read through the lines. We even read through the lines of AI. You think that we're not gonna be able to read through the lines of you? It's sad because they don't even know what's killing them. What's killing them is AI. What's killing them is them trying to sell a dream to us that we see as a fallacy, and it's so much so that even the Hispanics see it. Even the Hispanic, 80% of Americans want the Save Act to pass, and you guys refuse to pass it. Even Hispanics, a higher percentage of Hispanics want it than Black Americans. So what does that tell you? That's telling you to kick all these individuals who came over here under the Biden administration, kick them out because they know that they are messing it up for them. But you seem to not realize that what you're doing is also you're terrorizing them, besides just terrorizing the American citizen with all this illegal immigration through the open border policy. And now we have sleeper cells in this country. Now we have, uh, people trying to build up Sharia law in places like everywhere in the United States, but that has been a reflection of why we are going into war with Iran today. You have Chinese triad groups that's been working with the cartels in Mexico over here. You have so much has happened to where you are not understanding that we are telling you that this is a problem, that things have changed, and that we need to fix this problem. So much so, like I said, 80%, more than 80% of Americans have said, yes, we need the SAVE Act to be passed. And you don't want to realize this. And it's sad because you're caught up in your own fallacy while you were trying to shoot us a dream.
Jewish facilities and big sporting and entertainment events. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security say they are continuing to monitor potential retaliation threats today.
They were looking to do something here that was going to get a lot of attention. That is something that would fall within their group of targets. It is kind of believed that they have target folders already ready to go should that day ever come when they get operationalized. The fear is that this day has come.
Security around the Dolby Theater will be extensive. Officials say bomb squads will scan every arriving vehicle using detection equipment and explosive sniffing dogs, while SWAT teams monitor for potential drone threats capable of carrying explosive devices. Undercover officers and specialized counterterrorism units from LAPD and the FBI, Homeland Security as well, they will all be stationed throughout.
I don't care if it happens, if it doesn't happen. Drones are a problem that you can't necessarily stop. You don't have mechanisms to stop drones in the first place, so it's a security threat in the first place. So if it happens or if it doesn't happen, it's nothing that you have to be worried about from a national security perspective when you know that you have so many Iranians out here, even though you had Iranians out here celebrating for Trump, meaning that these are the type of individuals, like I would say with regards to the Hispanic, that is telling you not to allow no more of these people to come up over here. But these Iranians were celebrating this whole issue when it came to the Iranians being attacked with Operation Epic Fury. So you don't get the picture because all you care about is a vote. You don't get the picture because all you care about is a vote. You don't get the picture that technology is killing you. You don't get the picture that Donald Trump is I should say, the Democratic killer. Because all he got to do is speak the truth and destroy you guys.
This area. Back out here live at this hour, we can tell you that officials say sharpshooters will also be positioned on nearby rooftops and officers will maintain 24-hour patrols in this immediate.
It sounds like they need to be lucky for the federal government. You think the federal government wanted to send sharpshooters out here for nothing?
area surrounding the Dolby Theater. That is the latest for now here live in Hollywood. We'll send it back to you at the studio.
Welcome to the Trumped Up Live.
Oh my God, what happened? Anyway, I want to go to the next clip over here right quick. Because we need to go over here and give you an example of the sting that happened in MacArthur Park. And I don't care with regards to the gang activity, the street activity, and all that's involved in that. What I care about is giving you the understanding that these individuals that they have allowed over here mess it up for the individuals who have been over here. And these individuals who have been over here don't want to get caught up in this, but it's almost like you don't give them a way out. You're not giving them a way out to actually do anything else. Because first of all, if you pass the SAVE Act, you already know you've lost yourself as a party. You would not be in existence as a party, because nobody wants to be caught up in you guys' own thoughts of how you should be able to stay in power. And it's sad. Let me go over here to Alvarado, because when I look at Alvarado, see, you got to understand that the drugs that they giving over here to these people is death. It's death, bro. As soon as that needle touches these individuals' skin, their bodies their body starts to decay wherever that needle hits them. Let me see. You know what I'm saying? Because it just don't make no sense that these Democrats don't get it. And even as they walk through the streets, even as the ones who come over here, right, walk through those streets through Alvarado, and they look at these people, they trying to stay away from these people as well. But they know where all this is coming from. They know that this is coming from the Chinese through Mexico and onto the United States streets. Places like Alvarado, places like Philadelphia, places like where else? Arizona. These individuals, and the cold part about it is that I have never, since I've been in the state of California, in the city of Los Angeles, seen so many white people being devastated by a drug, bro. So, and I'm just being serious. You know what I'm saying? We gonna keep it 100 on that. Never in your life have you seen so many, probably with the opioid crisis. However, you didn't see them in the ghettos. You didn't see them in places like Alvarado. That was a pharmaceutical drug. That you had to go get that from a doctor. You had to be somewhat straight. You couldn't be towed up like these individuals. Man, let me go over here, man. Let me see. Because it's sad. It's sad. It's real sad. It's real sad, bro. It's unbelievable. Like, who wants to walk through this? Don't nobody want to walk through this. Look at this. It's just not even the worst part yet. Let me go over here. Let me see. Let's go. Let's move forward. Look at the people that's out here, though. You see, look, it's white individuals. It's white individuals. Let it continue. Look, the drug has crippled all these people. Look, and this is not only in the city of Los Angeles. They just did this thing where they just got the big heads, which was 13 people. I don't care about what gang they was from. I'm just giving you a demonstration of how you're also terrorizing the Hispanic over here. because this is a majority Hispanic community that you're looking at. Look how these individuals looking at these individuals who are not being paralyzed by this drug. Just look, bro. That's this street. It's sad. So when I tell you that the Democratic Party is losing and why Trump has become the Democratic killer is because, first of all, he's trying to fix up Mexico. He's trying to get rid of the cartel by Mexico. Now, Mexico has seemingly allowed the cartel to be a symbol of pride in a whole lot of uh, countries in the southern border or across the southern border, and that just not meaning Mexico. That's El Salvador. Look at these individuals, bro. That's El Salvador. That's Cuba. That's Colombia. Not so much Cuba. You know what I'm saying? Cuba doesn't allow that. I can tell you one thing's for sure. They don't really allow it inside their country. You know what I'm saying? But they have no problem with bringing these drugs, and these individuals is looking at what their I don't want to say relatives, right? But they're looking at what the people from where they come from are doing to this country. They're looking at it, and they don't want to be by it. But to get away from the cartel, they'll really rather be out here for the opportunity. This is how sad this is. And this is what the Democratic Party is not getting. That what brought this over here was Joe Biden and his open borders policy. You know what I'm saying? And not only are you terrorizing the United States citizen, and not only are the drugs coming and infecting, look, these majority white individuals, there is one black individuals out there that I see, right? However, you're terrorizing the Hispanic community that's been over here for years. This is why 85% of Hispanics wants to say that. This is why 85%. This is why what was I don't know the percentage, but at least I think it was over 70% of Hispanics voted for Donald Trump as a Republican because they see what's going on. While you're in office, this worried about a vote because the black people didn't want to vote for you. Here you are. Look, this is what they see in their streets. This is what they see in the streets, and you can't hide from this when you got people. It was one thing where we didn't have these platforms, but here we have the platforms to let the people know. Like, look, this is how clueless you are. Did they cover up the whole, listen, let me fast forward. Look at this, man. Generally, this is like where you would see like downtown LA, but I'm telling you right now, people in downtown LA got a lot more respect than this area right here. Because downtown LA, that's crackheads. You can come back from crack. You can't come back from the drugs that these people is getting. You can't come back from the drugs that these people was getting. I wish you could see the scab one. Let me go to another video. Look. Let me go to another video. Just be patient with me real fast. Just be real patient with me real quick. Because there's so much information in regards to this street. Even though downtown LA has been messed up for a number of years, um, and with the homeless problem, and that's another thing that we don't have a homeless crisis. That we don't have a housing crisis over here in this country. What happened was that even though all these illegal aliens are in this country, those who have crossed the border illegally, even though they are in this country, there is because housing prices, it's all about supply and demand. All right, if it's so much demand and not enough supply, here rents are going to go up. You know what I'm saying? And that makes uh it a problem when you don't have an economy, when you have an economy of renters. You don't have an economy of homeowners, and individuals are not able to buy a home until they are almost 40 years old. Let me see, man. So while they are touting to you that there is a housing shortage in the state of California, I'm telling you it's not. The problem is these you trying to find somewhere to put these individuals like you see on Alvarado, like these individuals can't even work no more. Let me see. I want y'all to see this again. How you gonna put these people back in the workforce? How do you plan to put these people back into the workforce? This is you're not really seeing the worst of the worst to where these people look. This is every night. Look, look at this individual on down here on the ground. This is the majority of how this whole area is. Wait till we hit this corner, bro. So this is the type of stuff that you want to spread in your city with open border policies. I'm surprised it's not more crowded than that, to be completely 100 with you. Because usually it's a lot more packed than that. It's a lot more packed than that. This video is being nice. I'm telling you, this video right here is definitely being nice. So much so that I actually want to go on to another one. So here you are, Democrats, you're giving us these falsehoods that you want us to believe. So much so that you're terrorizing not only uh, legal immigrants, you're terrorizing United States citizens. You know what I'm saying? You're claiming that there's a housing shortage when there really isn't. You're claiming that there's a housing shortage when there really isn't. There really is not a housing shortage in the city of Los Angeles. What they're trying to do is they're trying to find somewhere to put all these individuals when you need to, first and foremost, you need to take care of the veterans. You know what I'm saying? Not all these individuals, some of these veterans are like this as well, which is sad. But you need to be taking care of these veterans. You need to stop the sanctuary city policies if you want housing to open back up, because even though that there is a supposed housing shortage, when I see around town in the city of Los Angeles, what I see is a whole lot of housing. What I see is people not being able to afford it. You need to stop shooting us the lies, stop shooting us the rhetoric for our votes, because don't nobody want to vote for you. Pass the SAVE Act so we can get our country back right. Stop these sanctuary state policies and sanctuary city policies, because you're not protecting nobody. It's over. If you want to save yourself as a party, you have got to come back right to where you start to believe that, man, we overdid it. And then people will have the respect for you. But apparently you just don't want that respect. Apparently you just don't want that respect. Apparently you just don't want your respect back. Because that's what it's looking like. That is what it's looking like. Let me see something real quick. I must have been on my other channel looking at something. because let me see. Yeah, never mind. But it's sad that even the Hispanics are afraid of this whole situation, of being terrorized, of feeling like sort of like a moment of, man, we came out here for to allow this country to turn what we was running from, and that's plain and simple. And if the Democrats can't get that, I don't know. That's sad. Social media is killing them. They can't run for it from technology, such as the platforms like this, like YouTube. Let me show you.
I would now like to invite Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy.
This demonstrates to you what Donald Trump is trying to do to save these other countries from the cartel.
And Assistant to the President for Homeland Security, Stephen Miller, to the podium.
Stephen Miller is somebody that I know because of his mouth, because he come off tougher than Trump. Stephen Miller is somebody that because of his mouth, he can never run for president. But besides Marco Rubio, if I had to choose somebody for president that's gonna give it to you straight, it would be Stephen Miller. I like this.
Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you to my good friend, Secretary Hegseth, who I've long admired, but I've gotten to know personally in the last number of months. And he is as fine a gentleman and as fierce a warrior as you will ever meet. And we all learn to put our faith and confidence in his leadership of the War Department. So thank you, Pete. There's been a paradigm shift under President Trump in the Western Hemisphere in the last 14 months. Some of that was touched on by the earlier speakers, but just to restate it, we are not going to cede an inch of territory in this hemisphere to our enemies or our adversaries. Our national security, our homeland security, the safety and well-being of our people begins at home, begins at...
Isn't it amazing how China was giving Iran all the equipment necessary to have all the missiles and stuff that they have today in order to for this operation, to fight against Operation Epic Fury? All that weaponry that they got from China, the only thing that they was making with regards to China, no, actually Russia, was drones. What Russia did, and this how stupid the relationship is with China and Russia, that Iranian just didn't understand that they was being abused at the same time while they sitting there waiting on China and Russia to actually come save them. They ain't about to come do nothing. First of all, they took Iranian's technology, the drone making that they're using in the Ukraine right now. They took that technology. They put an order in by doing this. They put an order in for the Iranians to build them drones. The Iranian have, some superb drone manufacturing going on. So Russia asked Iran to go ahead and start making this like some number, whatever number it was. Russia took their drones, used them on the Ukraine, turned around, stole their technology, didn't pay them for the drones, and started their own manufacturing in Russia with the building of that drone. China was trying to take over. I don't know how the hell China was trying to take over because it's a Muslim nation. But China just want to be able to take control, because what you don't have to identify with is China was attempting to use Iran as a launch point to attack America. This is why so much military equipment is being given to the Iranians for it to test and put this stuff together. And when you think about what's actually happening, is China is funding Iran to build that nuclear weapon.
in our neighborhood begins in our home region. And for too long, we have allowed foreign enemies, foreign adversaries, and enemy terrorist organizations to control territory and spaces in this hemisphere where they can project power, project threats, and directly threaten the lives of your citizens and our citizens. And so under the leadership of President Trump, we are using hard power, military power, lethal force to protect and defend the American homeland. Not a single one of your nations should tolerate the existence of a single square mile of territory that is under the control of any entity other than the sovereign governments of your country. The idea that we would have in this hemisphere area that are under the physical...
He's talking about how in most of these countries in the southern border, the cartels has taken over the governments, taken over the people to where they're using what the state should be using for its human capital, and instead the cartel is using that human capital to work for the cartel, either work with the cartel, work for the cartel, and if you don't want to do those two things, like I said, you're going to be getting taxed by the cartel.
Control of foreign terrorist organizations.
And that's from Colombia. That goes down the line through the southern border. I mean, beyond the southern border.
Paramilitary organizations is completely unacceptable. The cartels that operate in this hemisphere are the ISIS and the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere, and should be treated just as brutally and just as ruthlessly as we treat those organizations. What we have learned after decades of effort is that there's not a criminal justice solution to the cartel problem. There are elements of the problem that require a criminal justice solution, to be sure, but just as we fought Al-Qaeda and fought ISIS with the tip of a very lethal spear, the reason why this is a conference with military leadership and not a conference of lawyers is because these organizations can only be defeated with military power. And I see some heads nodding up front because they understand. You're dealing with a lot of lawyers in your own country, I'm sure. You have my permission not to listen to them. The key condition of human flourishing, of prosperity, is order and security. A country cannot pursue economic growth, cultural enrichment, art, architecture.
Exactly what I'm saying. This is what these individuals who come to this country, when they come to this country, they come to this country looking for exactly what he's talking about right now. And so when I tell you that this is why the Hispanic voted for Trump, besides the fact of race, right? Leave race alone. Leave race alone for this one moment. Just leave race alone up out of this. And when I tell you that what you are bringing over here to this country with this open border policies is that you are bringing over a form of something that they ran away from. This is what the Democratic Party are just not getting.
Education, science, if it doesn't have fundamental security first. And for too long, we've been caught in a vicious cycle in this hemisphere where countries from Mexico down to the tip of South America do not provide their citizens with basic physical security. So those citizens, in search of economic opportunity, illegally immigrate to the United States. They pay the smugglers, they pay the cartels, who then grow richer, who then go more powerful.
Besides the ones who are running from criminal persecution, right? The majority, right, of these individuals that he's talking about, we ain't even thinking about the individuals who are running away from criminal persecution, those who have, in some form or fashion, broken the law in those nations, and who have decided to seek refuge in places like the United States of America. The reason why you see so many illegal aliens in this country having a background to where they have a 28, 30-year criminal background record where they just consistently getting locked up, or they have some type of rape charge or something they have from other nations or something like that in murder charges and think all this stuff that is been happening, right? And the reason why this border issue has got to get under control, and this Fourth Amendment issue has got to get under control, because a lot of individuals, you may think that it's supposed to be United States citizens. Once the Supreme Court makes this ruling, they're not going to be citizens.
And then your countries in turn become poor because you've lost your citizens, you've lost your human capital, you've lost your opportunities to develop and to grow. So you get poor, the cartels get more powerful, nothing changes, nothing improves. You have to break that cycle. You have to completely separate. And that begins by dismantling these organizations that deal drugs, deal violence.
You see how he just shoot it? Listen to how he just shoots it straight. And he does it better than Trump. And this is why I like Stephen Miller. You know what I'm saying? Because when Donald Trump, he gonna shoot it to you straight, right? But at the same time, what Stephen Miller doesn't have to do is worry about being a leader in a political office. Stephen Miller is not a political. I mean, he's not the head. He's not the chief. He's just an advisor. He's not the leader of the United States of America to where everything he says is going to be on the news the next day. He can shoot it to you straight, and he don't care whether he be on the news or not. But look how he's just shooting it straight.
Assassinate, extort, blackmail, and also traffic illegally in human beings. That is a form of terrorism too. Illegal immigration facilitated by criminal networks is a form of terrorism. And those who are stealing your children and stealing your families and stealing your human capital are part of that terrorist continuum and should be thought of as such. It is not a victimless crime when people are paying human smuggling organizations, because that money then fuels assassinations, it fuels violence, it fuels instability, and it continues this cycle.
Which nobody wants over here. No matter if you're a citizen or you're an illegal alien or you're an immigrant. Nobody wants to see that in the United States. You know what I'm saying? Really, they don't. This is why they're over here. First and foremost, besides the opportunities, if you don't realize that, it's something wrong with you.
For decades, a lot of organizations were sent to your countries. These are known as NGOs. I think you know the term, non-governmental organizations. And they gave you very, very bad advice for a very, very long time. And basically they told you, in short, that you needed to be softer and gentler and nicer to the criminals, and that you had to demilitarize your approach and extend more rights and more opportunities to the people who are sabotaging and destroying your society. I would make the point to you, as others have pointed out before, including the president of El Salvador, that the West only achieved the place that it did in human history because it spent previous centuries eradicating the criminal elements within its territories. So the West that we came to know, that had the great music and architecture and science and the most powerful economy, it had spent centuries previous to that establishing order first, so that by the time you get, to say 18th century England, 19th century England, there have been centuries of previous history in which ruthless means were used to get rid of the people who were raping and murdering and defying established systems of order and justice. And then when people could live freely and peaceably, and children and families and women could be safe, then it became possible to pursue all of these higher elements of life. So when people who are coming to countries like yours that have had struggles and difficulties and pains and challenges, and they're telling you anything other than first and foremost, secure your countries and your territory, they're giving you not only terrible advice, but advice if someone had come to Europe centuries ago and they had followed that advice, Europe would have never became the Europe that it eventually became. And the reason why many Western countries are struggling today is they've forgotten the eternal truth and wisdoms they once followed. And that's why here under President Trump in America, we are returning to those fundamental truths. We're returning to those fundamental principles. So I'll just close by saying that you will have in President Trump, in the White House, in the Department of War, the Department of State, and the whole of our government, unwavering support, unwavering commitment and fidelity in achieving this mission, which is very simply to eradicate the criminal cartels and terrorist organizations, to deprive them of control of weapons, spaces, institutions, and territory. And the human rights that we are going to protect are not of the savages that torture and rape and murder. The human rights that we are going to protect are of the peaceable citizens who have an absolute human right to live in physical safety and security every day of their lives. And in that mission, I promise you, we will be your closest partner. Thank you.
I say to that, you also need to control the CIA and the FBI, because tell you one thing right now, a whole lot of them weapons and stuff was that crossed that border, that backtrack over there to the border, it came from them as well. Believe it or not, you know what I'm saying? While people over here on this side of the border, they buy guns specifically to take back over there to Mexico, over there to the southern border. The reason why you have the cartels with all the machinery that it does have. Stephen Miller. Tiny Cross-H.U.G on the Trumped Up Live Show. Always remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Democratic Party has got to wake up from their dream, because we're not buying it anymore. We're just not buying it anymore. It's good that things into which Stephen Miller is talking about is happening for the southern border. Those countries over there in the southern border. And this is the reason why, because they feel like they so bad that they can just take over. They can just take over and do anything they want to, and while they're in this country. And I don't think anybody should go for that. It's disrespectful to the individuals who came over here and made a living, took advantage of their opportunities, and got away from that situation and are living well out here. For those Hispanics, you know what I'm saying? And it's at the same time, it's bad for the Black American, because all this illegal immigration, the Democratic Party has extended all these civil rights that Black people fought for over to them. And for the white American, they just want to dope y'all up. They just don't want to see y'all in power. Tiny Cross-H.U.G on the Trumped Up Live Show. Always remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. It's a good day to be a soldier.